All right, this is Brother Johnny of the 19 Report, Manning, South Carolina. Thanking everyone for tuning in to this installment. On the flyer on the website, you saw myself, Dale Castro Powell. He's supposed to be on, but he had an emergency that he had to take care of, and I don't want to go deeply into the subject without him being on board. But what's going on, Doug? Hey, I appreciate it, man. Bobby Theus, what's happening, man? I want to talk a little bit today about incest and molestation and also rape. And I know this is a really, really touchy subject, especially for Manning, South Carolina. You're in a small town, and most of the people know each other. And honestly, we had something we called kissing cousins back in the day, where you ended up falling in love with a family member, your cousin, your nephew. And first you started out kissing, but later on you started out doing other things. Sex gets involved, babies get involved, and then the children begin to get shipped off here, there, all over the place. And the parents begin to make up these stories to justify what's going on in the home. But the underlying part of that is the detriment that it causes to the children, the mental effects that it has on the children, or on any party involved with the incident. Now, I want to start with myself, as I always do. When I was coming up in a small town in King Street, my brother and I were babies. We got babysat by a neighbor, and the neighbor's daughter began to ask us to pull our pants down. She began to give us oral sex. I didn't know what it was then. It wasn't a bad thing. So, what's going on, man? Good afternoon. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, share the information. I got a good bit to talk about today, and I'm going to take my time with it because I didn't get to write it out. I really wrote it out for myself, and I expected Dale to be here, but he had an emergency. But we're going to go on with it because if you can touch just one person with what you're trying to share, with what you're trying to convey, then by God's permission, you have done your job. And all I would desire to do is what I'm asked to do. And when this subject came up, it was about the hurt that our children are going through, the silence, the betrayal that they're going through. But first, I want to talk about my own situation and a few more situations and encourage people to, if you can't tell about the person who did something to you, at least maybe confront them about it. And if not confront them about it, come to come to a realization in yourself that it wasn't your fault and find a way to get through that. And in the Black community in particular, we don't like to talk about mental illness. We don't like to talk about going to psychologists, psychiatrists, and people that can help us make it through a situation. But we're going to have to begin to do these things because they're necessary. Now, I'm not going to look at my phone too much, Doug, everybody, because I don't particularly care how many people are on the broadcast. What I do care about is sharing it. And what I do care about is people getting something out of it that can benefit them. I'm not a whore for attention. I'm nobody's whore. And I don't want you to think that you're doing me a favor by being on. The favor is when you share the information and see to it that someone who needs it gets it. And that's just it. And I appreciate everybody that tunes in. Again, my brother and she began to perform oral sex on us, but then her and my brother would go in the barn, and I guess they would go a little further with it. But I wasn't offended by it. It didn't hurt me. It wasn't forced. It was just something that happened. So I, growing up, assumed that that was okay, that it was okay to touch people like that, to do things like that, because that didn't bother me. That's dangerous. This girl that molested us, her brother later on ended up raping my mother, broke her leg, forcibly raped her, and my mother did not tell who did it because she didn't want my father to kill the boy. She knew he would have. But my mother, till the day she died, was afraid to come out of her house at a certain time of day. Psychologically, it affected her most of her life. When I was coming up, I read X-rated magazines from family members. They were never normal magazines. They were always magazines that talked about incestuous relationships, brothers and sisters, or somebody cheating with someone else's wife. They were just filthy magazines, but I read those magazines for days and for years. I got accustomed to that. So that type of behavior was normal for me. Oh, that's how you're supposed to behave. Children today go to school, they go in the locker room, they're being forced to have sex. Some of them end up enjoying it. I know someone in particular, I talked with them. They said they were raped in the locker room at Manning High School by males, but they enjoyed the experience. And they ended up going through several years of their life as a homosexual or bisexual. When you take your children over to sleepovers, the girls are now, because of internet and everything else, are fully aware that you can get pregnant being with a boy, but that they can get that same pleasure with just the girls. So now you have girls buying strap-ons, dildos, and all these different things to pleasure each other. I'm coming to a point. We're talking about sexual assault. We're talking about how it is destroying generations. And I want to put these things out there because I know someone can relate to them. The pastors in the church, especially during the 50s and 60s. What is her name? Oh, my goodness. Aretha Franklin's father had an incestuous relationship with her, and she had a son. And they kept that hidden. The Reverend C.L. Franklin kept that hidden with promises on top of that, that if you kept quiet, I would do this, this, and this for you. Right now in North Carolina, a little girl, 13 years old, I think, went out to the car to crank the car because they had to go to school. Someone took her and took the car as well. She has not been found yet. Sex trafficking in South Carolina is one of the biggest industries, according to Sheriff Leon Lott and many others. I did a documentary on that. If you haven't tuned into it, you can go to our page at the 19 Report and look at that information. When you take advantage of a person, whether they are a child or whether they are an adult, when you are in a position to manipulate their mind and make them feel love or make them feel fear or make them feel pleasure, you are in control of that person. You are able to create the narrative for their life. Sex has become a way to get positions of power. Sex has become a way of breaking a person. Sex has become a way of turning a person out. My next door neighbors, it was a horrible incestuous relationship over there. They're gone now. But the young lady is in a, she's a beautiful young lady, but I mean, sex has become her way of making a living. When you damage the spirit of a young person by molestation, by rape, or by assault in any way, when you damage the spirit of a young person, you're creating a damaged adult who either faces the issues that they have gone through and try to deal with them, or they bury those things. And by burying those things, those are underlying issues that will come up at a later time. We have to begin to notice the signs. Number one, men my age, I'm 48, some older than me, we're just perverted people. We're very perverted people. We have been brought up in a culture of perversion where sex and having sex gets us where we want to go, gets us what we want at the time, but later on it destroys us internally because sex is connected with the spirit of the individual. So when you lack attention in a relationship and you want that attention, anyone who's giving you that attention becomes your attractor, the person you're attracted to. And they can mold you into a whore. They can mold you into a prostitute. They can mold you into a homosexual. They can mold you into a they can mold you. I can't even remember what two women are, but they can mold you into that. And this filthy society takes pride in making you something other than what you are. Pride in disrespecting the feminine body. Pride in taking what we want to take. So in the church now, and in the church during the 60s and 70s, the pastors always got in trouble for having sexual relationships with young children, and usually got them pregnant, and usually they would have to send the child off to another relative and have them raised by the other relative. This is causing a spiritual disconnection, and this causes people to no longer live life out of love, because God is love, but it teaches us to live life out of necessity and out of survival. And when we begin to live life out of survival and necessity, then everything goes. So out of mercy, God says in the scripture, money is the root of all evil. Didn't say money is evil. It says the things that we do to get it, the root of it. Our young people are learning about sex through all different forms of media. I know a family right now, the young lady, she's an adult now, but the mother used to watch the uncle rape her daughter and didn't say anything about it. Knew about it right in the next room. Knew about it and did nothing about it, because women did not know how to approach when a man is taking care of the household and they have no means to take care of the household, so they let it go. Bishop T.D. Jakes made a film, Woman Thou Art Loose, very detailed in the what happens to a woman when she is sexually assaulted and abused mentally by the mother, the parent, who refuses to believe that they are being assaulted. So at the end of the movie, the man who was assaulting the woman, he finds religion. She comes to the church and he's saying, I've been redeemed, I'm sorry, but he's destroyed the soul of this woman. She'd been in prison. Her life was just destroyed because of this man, and she killed him. I have a family member very close to me who was taken advantage of, male on male incident, and the person got him drunk and attempted to rape him. Now he wants the person dead. And he confided in me that he questions if he is a homosexual. And I asked him, did you enjoy what was happening? And he said, I don't know, but I didn't like it. So our children, you want to know why they're having so many children? You want to know why sex drives them? You want to know why they fall in love with the first person who says, I love you, or shows any attention towards them? It's because inside of each individual, we desire a genuine, unadulterated love from people. And when you don't get that genuine, unadulterated love from mom and dad and your siblings, you're going to go outside of that. And that's what happens with gangs. That's what happens when we want that woman that has the big breast, the big butt, the camel toe, and there's another woman that loves us, but we don't want her because she is not the image of what we have been convinced is a woman of value. There's an author who wrote a book called Snakes in the Pulpit. He wrote it before Eddie Long was outed as a closet homosexual. And he mentioned a lot of preachers in the book. It's called Snakes in the Pulpit. He mentioned a lot of preachers in the book. And he mentioned their sexual practices in the book. Shouts out to Kurt Franklin, who admits that he has a sexual addiction. And another recognition to Donnie McClurkin, who admits that he engaged in homosexual activity, but he is attempting to change his life. Honest ministers of the gospel with issues that they are trying to correct, but I sincerely doubt in this industry if they'll ever be able to correct it. Our children are being molested. The way I came up, I was taught, the way I read these filthy books, there was nothing wrong with it. There was nothing wrong with touching family, nothing wrong with having sex with family. That's dangerous. Because when a person begins to think that way, they could be offending family members and don't even know it. But it's very few people who can talk about this issue. This is such a taboo issue. Incest, rape, and sexual assault. But there is a ritualistic practice when it comes to incest. The Menendez brothers, you remember them that shot their parents? Their father was having sex with them, with its two sons, and their mother knew about it, and so they didn't only kill him, but they killed her too. There is a ritualistic practice that goes along with the spirit. It's esoteric knowledge. I can't talk too much about it because you wouldn't believe it if you heard it. But there is a believed energy that comes from taking a young boy and entering him anally before he knows anything about sex. There is a ritualistic practice that goes along with taking young girls before they're 10 and 11 and 12 and performing sex acts with them that makes them submissive to whatever you desire them to be. They talked about, oh, I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for allowing her to see it, Doug. I appreciate that, man. Thank everybody for tuning in. Again, we're talking about a difficult subject because 99.9% of the people in Clarendon County have either been raped, have either been molested, or sexually assaulted by family members and told to keep it quiet. I'm not saying that you out the family member. I'm saying that we have to begin to find an internal peace within ourselves about the situation and understand that it was not your fault, and understand that God can heal that part of you, because you're laying down now with the man who wants to love you. You're laying down now with the woman who wants to love you, but you're constantly having these flashbacks of the assault. And you're always seen with another man, another woman. You can never get your whole heart into a relationship. I'm going to say this again. Sex trafficking is the highest in South Carolina. Pay attention to your little girls and your little boys, because they are offering mollies now. Little pills, look like Flintstone tablets. Everybody smoking marijuana now. Everybody drinking liquor now. Everybody sipping on syrup now, codeine and all this other stuff. It's nothing new. But at a young age, 10, 11, and 12, they're high out of their minds. At Manning High School, now I'm getting this from a police officer, they were having a contest on who had oral sex the best, who sucked dick the best. Parental discretion is advised. Young girls prostituting themselves at an early age. By the time they're out of high school, they're either a lesbian, is the word I was looking for, or homosexual, or bisexual, but you see the difference in them. The difference in them is not something that just happened. The difference in them is the fact that it was happening to us. We were closet homosexuals. We were closet lesbians. We were raping. We were doing all of this stuff. And now, because we didn't learn, we didn't take responsibility for what we did, God is manifesting all of those sins through the children. It says the sins of the father will come through the children to the third and fourth generation. That's close to 20, 40 years. So someone has to say, this is the point where we change the narrative, right? The person who says that is never the person who is regarded as someone that people wants to be around. It's never the person that people want to say, oh, Jamil, that's a cool guy. He tells the truth. This world is not built on a pattern of truth. Now, I want to point this out to you, and I'm not going to stay on long. I want to hold on to that same 30 minutes that we did before. But I want you to see something. And this is for Caucasians, and this is for blacks, and this is for anyone else who is listening. But I want you to see how during slavery, how we were forced into slave labor, number one. The one thing that became prevalent was building the best physical specimen in order to get the most work. The best human being. In order to get the most work out of that human being, we will find the best female with the best body type and the best male with the best body type, and we will force them into intercourse. This is slavery. So if it was mama and her son, they would force them to have sexual relations. If it was sister and brother, cousins, nephews, doesn't matter. You get together, and if you don't, we will beat you, we will kill you. Psychologically, this is making them, you want to know why black men are so irresponsible? One of the reasons, one of the main reasons, it's because of rape. It's because of molestation. It's because of sexual assault. You want to know why black women don't trust and put their total heart into the man? It's because of the same reason. So we're being forced to have sex with family in order to produce a stock that will do more work. And when the male refused, the biggest male refused to do as he was told, they perform something called buck breaking. And buck breaking is where you tie hand to hand, hand and hand to do two different poles, feet to two different poles, and the master would have anal sex with the male in front of all of his slaves to prove that if this is the strongest of your group, I've broken him. The psychological issues that come along with molestation and incest and the other and sexual assault, it does not go away. So our children are being enticed into a lifestyle in cartoons, in Nickelodeon is filled with sexual innuendo. The cartoons, and especially in the music, that crack music that's being sold is killing another generation of children, and God is not going to put up with that. If you believe there is a God, if you don't, fine, but the universe won't put up with it. What's going on, LaTanya Hilton? I appreciate you checking in. I appreciate that. Thank you. If we are the perpetrators of sexual, if we have perpetrated on anyone sexually, if we've done something that we shouldn't have done with a family member, that's no reason for you not to listen to what I'm saying. That's all the more reason for you to listen to what I'm saying, so that we can reverse the effects of these things by praying for those who've been offended, praying for ourselves, and understanding that we can't do these things anymore. We're losing another generation of children to desire. And there are many elements of desire that are causing them to succumb to what they feel. If you have not listened to one of my commentaries on the YouTube channel, The 19 Report, I talked about love, sex, and thought, and I talked about the power of sex. It's a very powerful thing, and I talked about the three brains. And the three brains that are involved when you are sexually involved with the person, the three sexual brains are the physical brain, the heart, and the sexual region. You hear a lot of people say he's thinking with his third leg or his second brain. All of these things are connected: the mind, the heart, and the sexual region. When a person is having sexual intercourse with anyone, a child or an adult, if you are in a high state of pleasure and they're calling you a bitch, a hoe, or whatever it is that makes you excited, subconsciously that's going here, it's going here, and it's in your sexual region. Even the women in the church are dressing like streetwalkers. Not all of them. But I mean, the nipples are out, the breasts are out, the ass is out, the camel toe is out, the tattoos are out, the lashes are on, the rouge is on, the long fingernails, all the chingly jewelry is on. All of this is a part of their sexual partners who makes them feel like a whore. So they act like that, but they like the feeling, because they don't understand what's occurring in the mind, the heart, and the sexual region. And the children definitely don't understand it. So we have to start the solution. Sex education classes that are not a part of the school system, because there are certain things you can't say in the school system. Sexual intercourse classes that deal with the world the way it is. Deal with the streets the way it is. Deal with the raw content of sex the way it is. All of it, from anal to vaginal to oral to two-sex partners, menage a trois, homosexuality, lesbianism has to be addressed. Why? Because it is affecting the mind of the children. It is affecting the minds of the adults. We are not in a position to trust anything because we have violated every single law in the Bible, but we are trying to hide the fact that we are violators. So we put up a persona of being the most righteous person in the church, in the community, the constant smiling, the constant hiding of issues that should be addressed. We don't deal with those things. We should. We're going to have to. We're going to have to start talking to our young people. Now, most of us, 99.9% of us have violated somebody. I'm putting it straight out there to you. Whether it was intentional or it was something that we did as kissing cousins or something we didn't understand, or violently raping a person and destroying the energy within them to feel love. We did it. So we have to begin to correct these things. And if we don't correct them, then we will be held accountable for them. I don't care how much you clap. I don't care how many scriptures you know. I don't care how nice you are to a person. I am telling you, this subculture that you don't see, not the person that comes out dressed nice, looking nice, smiling, but the real depressed, hurting person that eventually comes out with guns blazing and wanting to kill the people who they thought should have understood what they were going through, but never caught up with the signs. I had a neighbor, and she said to me and my wife, y'all didn't know what was happening to us over there? To me, looked like y'all had the best life. I had no clue, and I apologize for not knowing. But honestly, we should know. We should communicate in a community. We should know these things. So much of our issues come from bad sexual experiences. And a lot of our issues come from good sexual experiences where you fall in love with the person that doesn't love you. And you give them your heart and your soul and they break it. I've been through both. And it takes a lot to get through it. We have to begin to help each other through this issue. Because before you can see it, most of the powerful women in this town that's got a position of power, they ain't got no man. And if they have a man, he's a wimp. And if he's not a wimp, he's too aggressive. But there's no real love. The only real love you see is on Facebook when everybody is pretending. That's about it. That's a game. That's social media games. That's not the reality. And the children see it because in your home is the level of frequency that you produce when your family is together. Either it's up or it's down. I know that's heavy, but that's how God talks. God talks about the spirit. God talks about going up the ladder, Jacob's ladder, and coming down the ladder. Those are levels of understanding. And when you're dealing with people that don't understand on a certain level, you can't talk to them because they think they got it. But when you destroy generations, what did Jesus say? Suffer the little children to come unto me. Don't you dare bruise or talk down or rush them in their desire to know. They're asking questions. Figure out how to teach them. Figure out, teachers, because this was going on in school when I was in it, and before that, teachers and students sleeping together. And like I said, don't mention any names. That's not necessary. It's not necessary. What is necessary is whatever it takes for this person to heal. If they were abusive and raped brutally and destroyed the mind, then they need to be outed. But I'm saying this, like, with Bill Cosby, if he did the things that was alleged, then he should be punished for that. But if those women had come to him and he just laid with them, then the worst he could get out of that is a divorce, and a bad reputation, but not the situation that he has now. Drugs are involved. Our children are being drugged. I mean, I've seen women pissy drunk, and they out at the club. I don't even know how they make it home. But our children, we have to begin to reverse the effects of what has happened to them at our hands. We were the watchmen. My mother and father were the watchmen. I learned from them by watching them, but not by what they taught me, if that makes any sense. It wasn't what they taught me, it was watching them. I learned how to drive a car by watching. Every time I ride on the passenger side, I would watch the feet and watch the hands and watch all the gears and watch the signs. But no one ever said, I'm going to teach you how to drive a car. I learned about sex through magazines, and I still like the magazines. But I learned about sex through those magazines. I remember the first one, the very first magazine I looked in. So my neighbor had thrown it in the trash. My brother and I got it. I had never seen a vagina before. I'm like, what is that? But you know, you live and you learn. My first experience with an orgasm was through a magazine. See, that's messing up the mind. Now, you're not going to get this from most of the people you know, because let them tell it everything was so great. But we're going to stop lying, or else we're going to have to pay the consequences of the lie. I don't think people who have done wrong should be condemned, with the exception of those who have deliberately raped and destroyed a generation of people. And there are sexual predators in our school system who desire to turn our children into lesbians and homosexuals. They're there. And they're advanced in their understanding of the pleasure of the body. They know the G-spot. They know how to make a person feel good. So I'm asking you in closing that don't try not to get caught up in the personalities. So I know a lot of you think of me as I think I know a lot and I try to be this and that, but I'm a damaged person. You don't know me. You just assume you know me because you see me. But a lot of things hurt me in my lifetime. And I had to build up a shell around myself just to exist, just to survive. I had to do that. I had to talk to myself. I had to pray to myself just to make it through another day. And then have to deal with judgmental people who think that I think that I'm better when I don't. I don't think I'm better. I know I'm not better. But I know I work toward becoming better. And I can't allow that to be taken away. And don't you allow anyone to take it from you. But you really don't know, Brother Johnny. You don't know me at all. You don't know how I think. But after all that God has given me to push out there to you, really, it should be more of an embracing of what I have attempted by God's permission to do, because it is out of love for myself. And it is out of love for my family and love for those who I know. What's going on, Derek? Out of my love for you guys and myself. And out of knowing what is going on in the community and not being afraid to say it. Because some of us, we need other people's approval so much we get afraid to say anything. But that's not me. So listen. Let's begin to be fair. And think for yourself and listen to what a person says and see how they live so we can help our young people, right? We got 1,000 organizations in South Carolina. Everybody claim to be helping young people, but you know what they want? They want the credit for it. You don't see me on the internet showing you when I give somebody money or showing you when I connect them with someone who can help them. I wait on them to tell you that, but they don't tell you that. They don't tell you that about Brother Johnny, about Jamil. They don't, oh man, Brother Jamil just hooked me up. Listen, I'm supposed to be in jail right now for helping a minister, helping him out of a situation that he got into, and he didn't even show up to court to back me up. I never said his name. I never talked about him, but we got to stand up for our young people now, because I was damaged at a young age. I was damaged early because I was not wanted. And my mother made that very clear, and I love my mother to death. And again, don't you feel sorry for me, because God he worked it out for me. And I feel more alive today than I ever felt. Don't feel sorry for me. I don't need pity. Empathy, help, assistance, but not pity. But God worked it out. But imagine all of our children who we think by buying them things and that we are showing them love, but they are really crying out in their soul because they are being molested. they're being hurt, they're being injured by someone, and we're turning a blind eye because we don't know them. That is very painful to find out later on in life. I have a friend that found out later on in life that her child was being molested by the babysitter, and it's affecting him till this day. My daughter was molested by the babysitter. Yeah, that she was molested. We went to court over it, but we lost. But it's affecting her. What's going on, Craig Levy? My Rita Powell, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Dale had to work. He had to work today, and I didn't want to stop the broadcast. So we're going to do this today, and God willing, he should be on tomorrow. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in, and I'm about to close. But please remember the things that I said, and I want to read this to you right now real quick. I want to read 3 scriptures, just verses out of them, then we're going to close. This is Proverbs 21:15 of the King James Version of the Bible, and it says, when justice is done, it is a joy to the righteous, but a terror to the evildoers. Now, listen to what I'm saying. This is the science behind this world and any world that you enter. The evildoers must keep their world alive so that their punishment never comes. How the evildoer keeps their world alive is by enticing you and I with pleasurable things that mean nothing. So sport and play is a sin. It's okay to do it sometimes, but we get so caught up in it that valuable lessons that need to be taught and learned, we skip it. What do we do for our children? We give them a party. What do we do at the party? We play filthy music. We give them filthy food, and we allow them to act a damn fool, and then we slap hands and say, we did it, man. We did it, man. We had a party for the children. We do it for the babies. But you didn't do anything. That's real talk. And that's a person that you need to run with somebody who talks real. But you want to run with people to tell you, yeah, man, y'all really did it, man. But that ain't me. And that's why people can't hang around me, because I can dish it, but I can take it. Because it's vitally important that we do it. Yes, we have to live. Yes, we have to have money. But the root of the evil that we are perpetuating to ourselves, within ourselves and with our children, the root of it is that damn dollar. We love it more than we love ourselves. We love it more than we love God. And we turn a blind eye to what is necessary because we got to have it. See, we talk God, but we fear the devil. That's Proverbs 21:15. Now Romans 12:19, and we're going to close after one more. It says, beloved, it said, beloved, never avenge yourself, but leave it to the wrath of God. To what? The wrath of God. Wrath is total anger. Do you see what's happening in the world today? There's so many churches in Florida, big mega churches, but Florida is decimated. Florida is going through hell right now. California is going through hell right now. So the wrath of God doesn't come like you think it comes. It destroys one thing that affects another thing. Everything that is going on in Florida, if there are trucks that come from there to bring goods and services, our prices will go up here. Anything that goes on in California, the prices will go up here. Everything is a trickle-down effect. It affects everything else. But when you don't do what you're supposed to, when you can capture the minds of millions of people, and in the local churches, you got a church full of people and all you give them is drum beats and Jesus, but you don't get to the core of the issues. Don't you know that the majority of people who are being raped and molested and sexually assaulted are in the church? But can't talk about it? They come there trying to fix themselves by themselves. And that is almost impossible. A damaged mind cannot fix itself. A damaged car cannot correct the damage. You take it to a mechanic. Beloved, never avenge yourself, but leave it to the wrath of God, for it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord. Now, you sitting there waiting for someone to suffer like you suffer, but that's not how God works. Because you got shot don't mean your man, don't mean the dude that shot you going to get shot. It might be something else. The last one. I think I have, yes, Isaiah 1:17, then we're going to close. It says, learn to do good. It says, seek justice, correct oppression. Correct it. Don't justify it. Seek justice, correct oppression. Bring justice to the fatherless. Plead the widow's cause. That's our job. If you have been hurt in any way, or if you have hurt someone in any way. You don't have to put that on Front Street, but you can pick up yourself and start to do something to benefit those whom you have harmed. I have my mechanic, his wife. We went to school together. We are 34, 35 years old at the time, and she came outside and she said, Keith, you really hurt me in school. And what you talking about? I tried to be your friend, and you talked about me bad, and you picked at me, and you did this. You hurt me. I say, well, you're hurting me right now by telling me the animal that I was. But I told her I was damaged goods. I saw nothing in myself that another person would love about me, and I thought you were trying to trick me. So before I let you hurt me, I was going to try to hurt you first, and I apologized to you. And I went home and I prayed for her. I did that. I prayed for her, that God would take away in her mind what I did to her. For it to hurt from high school to now, I'm a beast. And that God would allow me to correct the things in myself and help others to correct the things in themselves. We were talking about sexual assault today, destroying an entire generation of children by not addressing the issues. I thank you for tuning in. I will upload this again, and I really hate the fact that Dale had to take care of business, and I understand that. So we're going to come back on because he had a lot to say about the subject as well. We're going to come back on and talk a little bit more about it, but I wanted to put this out there because I said we were going to talk about it, and I hope that something of value came from this, that you can share it, and that you can and when I am talking at a high pitch, I'm talking out of passion. It's not anger. I'm not angry. I'm not going to be labeled as the angry guy. I'm more depressed and hurt over the way things are than I am angry. So I hope that what you heard, it would be beneficial to you, and I hope you would share the information with others. Share it. Don't just like it, but share it and tell them Jamil said it. So that way you don't have any culpability. You're not a part of it. I liked what he said. It's a part in there that it touched my soul, and I wanted to share it. So to the young people, if you have any issues with being touched or being raped and molested or sexually assaulted or mentally assaulted with words, please go to someone and talk to them about it, or you can get in touch with me, and we can talk things out that way with other adults in the room, and that way we won't have any issues about anything else. So thank you for tuning in, Brother Johnny. Groove 19 Promotions, Manning, South Carolina, the 19 Report, and like it is, I hope that you will tune in next week, or maybe tomorrow. I think we will be back on tomorrow, God willing. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you, Facebook. I appreciate it. Share the information. 1.